What's up, guys? It's a little chilly outside. It's 70 degrees. You know how that gets in Florida. Let me go. Sorry, I can't count the buttons on my jacket. Kind of like how Florida can't count votes.
So Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was the first film in this new series that David Yates has been, directing now for, it's 2 films, it's going to be doing 5, it's insane, but in Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, this is the sequel, the direct sequel. It takes us into, our main antagonist, Grindelwald, played by Johnny Depp. So let's hop into the story. Eddie Redmayne returns as Newt Scamander, and he's definitely got more tricks up his sleeve, but the thing is he runs into a young Albus Dumbledore, played by Jude. Now there is this Grindelwald who broke out of prison. We see that early on in the film, and it's up to Newt Scamander and all of his crazy wizard friends to stop Grindelwald at all costs, because Grindelwald has a very, destructive personality about him, and he really wants to tear down Hogwarts and all of the wizards. Doesn't want to bring balance to the Force. Oh, sorry. Wrong film. So David Yates returns, and I think that J.K. Rowling, let me tell you, both of them together in the first one, I really enjoyed it. So before I get into any criticism, yes, I did like the first film. I thought it brought a really fresh approach. As a Harry Potter fan myself, I really loved how they kind of just built the world a bit more. We're diving deeper. It's 70 years before the events of Harry Potter take place. With this sequel, though, J.K. Rowling returns as a screenwriter. I was optimistic. There were more faults in this one than the first one, but let me just get into the positives, because I'm sure you've heard by now there's a ton of criticism with this sequel. Some of it's unfounded, but anyway, positives. The visuals are incredible in this movie. There are moments where my jaw was almost dropping to the floor because it's not bad CGI, and that's what you gotta love about these kind of movies. We live in an age where anything is possible, right? But not everything looks good. In Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, there's a lot to love about what you're seeing on screen. From the opening sequence where Grindelwald is broken out of prison to the battle at the end, I thought it was just fantastic, and I think everything kind of flowed. David Yates has a vision, and that's another positive. He at least knows where he wants to take this. I thought that, the direction, especially in all the action, was flawless. The beats were pretty good in those moments. Jude Law and Eddie Redmayne really have a good chemistry on screen. Granted, there wasn't a lot of it. I wanted more, and it's not me being selfish. It really is a critique. I wanted more. But Jude Law and Eddie Redmayne really have a good flow together. There's a moment where you can tell their humor is just bouncing off one another. Look, they're just really, really nice to see on screen. Kudos to David Yates bringing in Jude Law anyway. He's a great casting decision. And Eddie Redmayne really does bring a lot to the table. He's awesome as Newt Scamander once again. So Dan Fogler really does steal the show once again, and as Jake Kowalski, the sidekick to Newt Scamander, listen, the dude is just so funny. He is just bringing everything to the table. He helps take this film basically to a more accessible level for those who don't really love Harry Potter too much. An average moviegoer will go in, and I think that this is the character they fall in love with, so kudos once again, Dan Fogler. So that's about it for all the positives, honestly, because I let this film marinate a little bit, and I actually thought it got better as I thought about it, but I think the positives really are outweighed by some of the negatives. Now, that's not to say that this film is terrible. The common critique is that this film is a boggled mess. In moments, I don't even think it's messy. In moments, I do think it's boring, though, and that's the first point I have to make, is that, boy, is this movie in the middle part, there's this middle chunk where they're really just giving you a lot of backstory, which is great, but it's just boring. It's just exposition through dialogue, and I don't like that too much. The screenplay is decent. I think that J.K. Rowling brings enough to the table for Harry Potter fans to love, but if you're not obsessed with the story, these are the moments where I think I was lost, because I'm not obsessed with Harry Potter. So when they threw out some surprise names, I was like, okay, that's cool and all, but I'm here for what happened 70 years before Harry Potter, not to connect the dots years later, if that makes sense. I think Johnny Depp is also not memorable in this role. He tones down his usual antics to play Grindelwald, and he's not menacing. So everything he did on screen, I'm like, this is the dude who got locked in maximum security. I can take him, I think. Well, don't hold me to that. So you have Johnny Depp, who didn't really bring enough, and then you have actors who brought it in their scenes, but there wasn't enough of. Like I mentioned earlier, Jude Law. I wanted more of him. He's such a charming actor, and in this film, he really does bring out what we loved about old Dumbledore. He brings this feeling of, man, this dude is a cool uncle. I'd want him as an uncle. Just me? Okay. And then there's Ezra Miller, who plays Credence. Look, the dude is just not in this movie enough. So yeah, I think that David Yates really has a lot of work ahead of him, because this film definitely is far worse than the first film. Not to say that Crimes of Grindelwald is absolutely terrible, but there's not a lot to love compared to the first film. So I think if you're a diehard Harry Potter fan, you'll still find ways to love this movie. It's not that I love it, I just think I like it once. I probably won't go to see it again, but I do like it once. Also, there's a ton to love here if you do love a lot of background. So hey, there are things that I'm sure a lot of fans will like. The film is not that bad, y'all. So like, really, there are some critics I think that are taking this to another level, saying it's like one of the worst films they've seen, the worst in the Harry Potter franchise. It's not the worst in the Harry Potter franchise, and I actually don't think it's the worst film of this year. So maybe we need to scale back a little bit. So yeah, guys, it's good to be back. Thanks so much for watching this review. If you liked it, give a thumbs up. Not the opposite of this. Hit subscribe if you want to see more content from Reflect the Screen in the coming months. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll definitely catch you at the next screening. I hope David Yates really corrects that in the next 3 films, because yeah, there are 3 more films. And I think he just really takes the film to 3, 2, 1. Oh, mamma mia.